longest life. Okay. All right. So, two main things. I want to show you the 5 categories of your reflective project. For the actual project itself, remember this is one of your IAs, there are 36 total points. But for your presentations, which will start for you Wednesday, not tomorrow, it will start at your next class period. You can do them this week for a flat little bit of extra credit, but we'll run them all the way through our finals period because it is part of your final for this class is to present your reflective project in whatever means you find appropriate that meets these 5 categories on the rubric. Okay? So, I want to show you the rubric categories. Let me pull it up real quick. We'll come in. Just gotta find it. Thank you.
Is she here today?
No. Yep. Okay, so let's start with number 1. Focus and method. These 5 criteria are going to be worth 10 points each on your presentation, but are a little bit different point value on your actual reflective project. Some of them are more important, so they are heavier point values than others. So if you're looking for areas to make some subtle tweaks to your reflective project, any types of changes, anything closer to the word count, go for a criterion that has more points available. But for the presentations, all of them are going to be worth 10 points because there's 5. Okay, criterion number 1, let's not scroll that fast, is focus and method, entirely themed around how you came to your ethical dilemma. Okay? It's going to assess your ability to select and explore an ethical dilemma embedded in an issue. So the first thing is how do you even find your ethical dilemma, which is contextualized in light of your career-related study through careful, focused, and systematic research. All of this is asking, and for this criterion A on your presentation, what you need to present is how did you get to your ethical dilemma? What kind of things did you consider related to your career path, related to your personal experience, related to both, that led you to the ethical dilemma that your reflective project burst forth from, right? It's also got a little bit more about your ability to select and apply appropriate research methods and collect and select review relevant information from a variety of sources showing an understanding of bias and validity. A lot of stuff you do in English language arts, a lot of things you do naturally as being a student and a member of a school, right? Criterion A is focused solely around how did you get to your reflective project ethical dilemma, okay? And that one on the actual RP is worth 6 points max. You can see there's a couple mark bands here. These are what I'm going to use to grade your reflective project as you're presenting it, but criterion A, for one last time, is going to be worth 10 points on your actual presentation. That makes the presentation worth 50 and the actual RP itself worth a max of 36. So, let's move on to criterion B, knowledge and understanding in context. You have formulated your ethical dilemma. You've considered a lot of angles. You've figured out that this is actually what you want to study. Now, how do you start applying the knowledge or proving what you have learned as a part of this process? Okay? It's going to assess the way the student, evidences an understanding of the issue and the ability to contextualize the ethical dilemma in light of a wider issue. So if criterion A is focused, if you're sculpting the marble down into a reflective project ethical dilemma, criterion B is showing your knowledge in context of how you got to that ethical dilemma. A little bit different than criterion A, which is your personal experience. Criterion B is more about the broader scope of the world and the career and what kind of things are influenced by you asking this question. Okay? Whether that influence is local or global, it also is going to consider your ability to analyze different perspectives, different stakeholders, showing an awareness and understanding of the impact, and different types of cultural influences. This one on your reflective project is worth 9 points. So this is one of a more important categories, but again, going to be worth 10 on the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to stop after critical thinking to make sure you're still with me, okay? Criterion C is pretty face value, critical thinking. What is your reasoning and evaluation, or your take, on the ethical dilemma that you've presented? Okay? What is it that matters to you in context, critically analyzing, critically reporting, critically explaining and presenting your ethical dilemma in the context of your knowledge and in the context of your personal experience. Personal experience is A, knowledge is B. Now we're in C. How do you combine those two aspects? All right? It's also going to show your ability to interpret, analyze, and evaluate material, as well as your ability to synthesize and make connections, all fun ways of you taking this knowledge that you found and making it your own. Okay? How do you turn this into your reflective project instead of just a report on workplace conditions or the pay disparity or return to play or whatever your ethical dilemma is themed around? Okay? This one's worth 12 points on your final RP, so it'll be worth 10 on the presentation still. But we'll pull some points from another one of the sections here. I'll make sure you have this rubric by the end of the day too, so you can see in more detail what each of the mark bands, what each of the ranges of the rubric will be. Criterion D is communication. In the presentation sense, this will be your professionalism and your explanation to make sure other folks are understanding exactly what you're presenting. But for the ethical dilemma, this is like your spelling and grammar score. It's presenting your 5-paragraph essay style in a structure that makes sense, right? This is my ethical dilemma. Here's my stakeholder analysis. Here's some sources, primary, secondary. Here's my personal stuff, right? It moves through the reflective project in an effective way. And your presentation makes clear sense to anybody who's watching. How are you communicating your piece? Okay? This one's out of 3 points on the RP. Very important, but there are faster ways to get more points or to improve your score. This one, most students do really well on because you guys are solid writers and seniors, so you've had a lot of practice. Okay, sorry, I skipped over where I was going to check in. Are you with me so far? Is this making sense? Somebody, I don't know if I taught you guys this or told you guys this. What helped me understand these IB-type materials a lot more is if it makes no sense to you while you're reading it, because they use a lot of big words and a lot of like fluffy language. Sometimes if you read it in a British accent, it actually does help because it's written internationally. A lot of these do come out of like the English sector, like England's type English sector. So if it's making no sense to you as you read it in American English, try it in British English, and it might make a little bit more sense. It's crazy, but it's worked for me. So, anyways, that's the point. If you want to read this later and you're like, I have no idea what this says, try it in a British accent and see if it makes more sense. Okay, your final criteria, your engagement and your reflection. This is your personal take on your ethical dilemma, your experience in this career path, both of those things, or your takeaway from this act of study. Okay? All of us, dependent on if you are a little bit involved in your reflective project or super duper involved in your reflective project, are all going to take away something from the process of learning and reading and analyzing and conducting surveys or interviews or whatever. You're going to take something away from it. Criterion E is going to value or evaluate your engagement and your ability to reflect on that learning. Okay? What is your main takeaway from this entire process of IB Career Path? What is your takeaway from the process of creating your reflective project? What is your takeaway from preparing a presentation to outline what you learned in your reflective project? How have you engaged with your supervisor? What kind of things have you learned talking to an adult in the sphere, right? If you talk to somebody who used to work in medicine or like pharmacology, etc., biology, engineering, computer science, right? How have you gained something from those conversations more than just your peers and from this classroom? What is your engagement, your personal involvement with the reflective project? And this one is worth 6 points on your final reflection, and you can see some of the type of look-fors. These bullet points are the kind of things I'm looking for when I'm grading, and the kind of things you should be talking to if you want a higher score on your presentation. Okay? Does all that make sense? No, that was a lot of yap. But these are the 5 major pillars that hold up your reflective project. If you want to build a house that's not going to get knocked over in a tornado, you want to build them strong in these 5 areas. Okay? Make sense? Don't want any Minecraft Night 1 structures with the dirt roof. Okay? It's got the grass on it. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense to some of y'all. Okay. That's the first thing I wanted to yap about. Hi, welcome in. The second thing I want to go over real quick is how do you put stuff into ManagePack? Because a couple people in third period were looking into this. This is for your SL contribution, your 50 hours of SL. Let me go to, it's not going to be here. Where is it? ManagePack. This is for your 50 hours. How do you create the CEs, community engagements, and how do you reflect on them in order for them to count towards your 50-hour minimum. Okay? Can anybody tell me, before I show you, when those 50 hours can start counting from? Emily.
First day of school and junior year.
First day of school, junior year. Does that include your junior to senior summer? Yes, it does, because that time exists between day 1 of junior year to January 12th, 2026. Okay, so let's say, I'll use a third-person period example. Let's say my name is Andrew, and I have not put any engagements in yet, which, actually, you have, which is perfect. Where you see on my screen this number 63, you'll probably see like a circular plus button. It says something like CE engagement, okay? If you're following along in ManageBack, do you see that TS on your screen, right? Okay, cool. So when you click that, it's going to open up this menu right here called New Engagement. There are a couple of requirements for the inputting of the new engagement, and this is about it's more than 2 steps. It's 2 halves, 2 parts in order to complete it. This is the first part, okay? The engagement name is the type of volunteering or service that you did that you want to count towards your 50-hour minimum, okay? If you got paid, does that count as service? No, not technically. There's some edge cases, but let's go straight down the middle and only keep this volunteering or genuine service work that you've done, okay? So if this is your job, I wouldn't count it as CE engagement. If this was something you did with your time, that wasn't for monetary gain, necessarily, count that as CE. So the example I used in third period were if I were teaching swim lessons out of the goodness of my heart for no pay. Can somebody give me an example of what kind of service you might have done as a high school? What kind of things do your counselors say count as community service? Osrith.
Link crew.
Link crew? Okay, perfect. So let's say I was a link crew leader. Okay, that is the engagement name because that's what I was doing that I want to count hours for. And the second thing you need in the title, this is required for a part I'll get to later, you need an hour count in the title. Say I did this for 35 hours. I don't know what the actual number is, but we're going to call it 35 for the time being. Okay, 4 boxes right underneath the engagement name. These are different types of how your hourly breakdown could look. Okay. Direct service hours is the time you spent doing the service actively. I am the link crew leader. It's the first day of school. The bell has rung, and I'm running this assembly, and my freshmen are all over the place, and I got to rein them in. Okay? Direct service hours is time spent doing the service. Indirect service hours are things like training, prepping, planning, organizing, coordinating, all those verbs that mean setting up, right? Because it's indirect, you're not doing the actual link crew leading, but you're doing things that help you complete the link crew leading. Okay? So let's say I spent 20 hours with my freshmen, directing them, making sure that they know where all their classes are in this maze of the school. Okay? That's my direct service hours. Let's say it took 5 hours to get, no, let's do 10. 10 hours to get trained. No, it's a little much. Let's do 5 hours. 5 hours to be trained. A week of school with 1 hour trainings each day. That's indirect service hours. We're at 25 out of 35. Advocacy is you advocating for the program. So this can be things like campaigning. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Advertising. This can be things like flyering, or if you're doing some type of organizing. I'll use an example that's happening in my life a little bit more. The Puget Sound Tenants Association, because I am a tenant in Puget Sound, is working to fight some unfair things that our landlords are doing to us. Them advocating for the meetings and advocating for the things that are getting done in order to fix this landlord problem are those hours for advocacy. That's you saying that it's a good thing for whatever reason. Let's put those as 5 hours. Okay? And then research, self-explanatory. This is you. How do you... Any type of study, any type of independent learning, any type of extra training or extra certification processes, that's going to go into research hours. Osrith.
I was just wondering, do they all count towards like the same rate? Is there like a requirement of you need like a specific amount of direct service hours?
No, they all count towards the SL core of 50. Thankfully, you don't have to do all this, but if you want to do all this to get like a really comprehensive picture, this is how you would do that. Let's say all 35 of my hours are direct. That's all. You just put it all in direct. The only reason I'm showing you all this is because I want you to see that each of these types need to match the total hour count that you're claiming. Okay? So this is 20, 25, 30, 35 total. Then you check your approach. This is a local, personal, system-based approach, whatever you think is appropriate. You fill this stuff out as true as you can. Okay? Next up, your supervisor name is not me. It is not Blakeney. It's whoever was in charge of you while you were doing the service. Okay? Person in charge who, if I could type, who is not, pretend that says who is not Blakeney. Oh, Blake, whatever. Okay, you know who I am. Is the supervisor me? Let me ask real quick. No, so true. Exactly. Okay, you need at least an email or a phone number because they have to complete a quick little, did this person actually do this thing? And they'll say yes or no, depending on if you, whatever approaches, or sorry, the target learning outcomes that you talk about in the bottom here. So here's their email, email, and then you write your description and goals as face value. If you're looking for exactly what to put, you put what you did, not with caps lock on, what you did, and what it taught you. Taught you at a bare minimum. Okay? Those are the things you need for description and goals. Then you check how you wanted to learn. Did you want to grow as a person? Did you want to participate in something? Did you want to collaborate? Whatever. These boxes that you check are what your supervisor says, did they or did they not? And the supervisor part is the last 1% of this getting complete. I'm going to show you the second part. You need to get your services approved, which I'm going to start doing this week, kind of as you present as well. Okay, I know that was a lot of info and a lot of boxes. Was that too fast? What kind of questions are popping up? Any? Yeah, sure.
So for this one, you did 35 hours for link group, but like the dates are all spread out.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the first day, you did the last day, you did it, and then you had multiple reflections.
I would do I'll get to that in a second. The start date, if it's something like Link Crew where it's spread out, do when you officially started being a Link Crew leader, and then put it to either today or the end of the semester as the end date, because that gives you a big window for you to do the reflection part, which I'm going to talk about in a sec. So once you've done with that, you're going to click Add CE Engagement. I don't want to give Andrew 35 hours of stuff he didn't do. Okay? That's the first part. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of boxes to fill out, but so is life. And so is IB especially. Okay? Let's look at what a reflection could look like, the second part. And there's a couple stipulations on what those reflections need as well. A couple of requirements. So let's look at Ruhan's here. At this Providence Point assisted living, he's got 35 hours. Before I show you the reflections, if more than half or all of your hours come from one source, like this one does, anything more than 25, you need at least 2 reflections with evidence. If it's something short, as you did for like 2 hours, you only need one piece of one reflection with evidence. Okay? So, like Ruhan's right here, this is 115 hours. This is counting for more than the required 50. This should have 2 reflections with, or at least 2 reflections with evidence. Okay? So this one, right here, Ruhan has put in a journal entry of some kind by clicking on this Reflections and Evidence tab. It's second in the order. Oh, pretend that says second. It's second in the order along your CE little category right here. And he's attached some type of time tracking sheet with a lot of information proving that the hours that he worked equal out to however much he says in the title. Okay? Once those things are complete, I will approve it. I think I approved this before we had this was way at the start of the semester. Let's look at his other one real quick. The one that says to be determined. Okay, let's go back to Ruhan. We're going to look at this Providence Point one, to be determined. Ruhan has filled out all of the stuff. You can see that there is the coordinator for the learning, or for whatever the service is claiming. We're going to go to this Reflections and Evidence tab. And because Ruhan only has the one reflection with no type of evidence, it's got no confirmation emails, it has no pictures of you at the event, if that's possible, and HIPAA compliance. It has no like screenshots confirming, yes, you're enrolled, no tangible products, like I wrote this code, or I built this robot, or we built this bridge, or I picked up this much trash, here's me and my friend at the trash pickup, right? whatever, you need some type of photographic evidence in at least one piece. If it's less than half. If it's more than half or all, you need at least 2 pieces of evidence. Does that make sense? Okay. It sounds complicated, and there are parts of it that are like, if this, then that, a little bit conditional. But as long as you are proving that you're there in a legit capacity, I will approve it. And if I'm worried about that if you're not going to get approved or if it doesn't have the quite right type of evidence, I'll work with you to find that right type of evidence. Okay? What kind of questions are we having on this process right here? Ishir.
Could you explain each piece of evidence and what it is or not?
Briefly, just be like, this is me at the event, or this is my scheduled confirmation. If we look at this reflection that Ruhan completed, let me see if I can add. Let's see what happens when no, I don't want to do that. When you add a reflection or an evidence, you want to include something like at least, kind of similar to when you set up the engagement of what your goals were and what you want to learn. You say, what did you do? Excuse me. How did it help? And then there's a third question on the reflection is, why is it important? Right? Generally speaking, how you're reporting on what you did and why it mattered to you, why it mattered to the world being either Sammamish or Earth, and how did it help, etc. So, again, there's a lot of open-endedness, which can be a blessing and a curse, because a lot of things can work, is the blessing, but you have to kind of find a way for it to work is the curse. Okay? You have a question, Shweta?
Yeah.
So.
Something with like confirmation emails or like sign-up lists work as evidence.
They do. Yeah, they work for me. So, all of these 2 parts, all of the different multi-steps of each of these 2 parts, get your service learnings to 99% complete. How do you get it to 100% complete? Let me show you. If we look at Providence Point Living, okay, there are 3 stages. Let's just go back to CE and then Ruhan. You won't see everybody like I do, obviously. There are 3 settings, okay? I approve it if it's got a title with an hour count, at least 1 reflection, with 1 piece of evidence, or the stipulation of if it's half or all of your hours, you need 2 pieces of evidence. Once I approve it, let's pretend I set this to approved, and I'll go back and complete it. There's a button right here that you can click or I can click that sends a little questionnaire to your supervisor, whether that's to their number or their email or whatever you put on there, which is a sheet that just says, did Ruhan do XYZ? And they'll say yes or no, and there's a space to put comments like this person, what's their name? Meg Iyer says, Ruhan has been a trustworthy and steady volunteer. They have a chance to give comments, they don't have to. This is the last 1% because it's out of our classroom and out of our hands. 99% of this work is between you and me, and if it gets approved, and then the supervisor just forgets to do your review, IB doesn't care about that as much as if you just don't do it at all. Or you don't hold up your end of the bargain. I saw a hand over here, Osrit.
Yeah, I see there's like another option where you can just like, there's like a C completion form where you can just send that directly to the advisor.
You can do that too. We can also print, if you don't have email or phone contact with your advisor anymore, you could find like a sub supervisor, somebody who's still with the organization that could complete either a paper or email thing that just proves that you actually did the service. Okay? And that's your service learning. It's a lot of steps, but you've done the work already. Let me go back and set this to complete. Okay, you've done the work already. It's just uploading that work into the right spot. What questions are we having so far? Okay, last thing I want to show you. I want to show you what the presentation signups will look like starting on Wednesday. Don't sign up for this one because that's for 3rd period only. If you show up on Tuesday at 10:15, it's going to be pretty hard for you to do your presentation because you'll be in a different class. So I'm going to build yours. There'll be 4 options. This for you to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then your final period, which for y'all is Thursday. We're going to be here at 8 in the morning. It's going to be really early for PPS. Okay, I'll finish that up. It takes me a sec to do that. Huh? Next Thursday? Is your what?
Wednesday 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go over that real quick.
But Tuesday's 1, 2.
Tuesday is 7 periods. So last thing. Sorry, I keep saying last thing and then another thing comes out. This weekend is a 3-day weekend for all of us because Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on Monday the 19th. So there's 3-day weekend for that, which leaves Tuesday the 20th as a 7-period day. I can't remember if it has flex or not. I don't think it does. Does it? Okay, I'll look back. Tuesday, 7 periods. Flex or not is in progress. Wednesday is periods 1, 2, and 3 finals. Thursday is 4, 5. Friday is 6, 7. You have a work day, or sorry, you don't have a work day. I have a work day on Monday the 26th, which means your next 2 weekends are 3-day weekends, which will be really nice right around finals time. However, semester 2 starts the 27th of January. It's coming up shortly. So, because it's that Tuesday right after the 26th of our teacher work day. Ishir, what's up? Do you have a question?
We'll be
When?
on the 27th.
The 27th, you'll have a new 4th period. Yep. Okay. That is fully the end of what I have to share. What kind of questions are we having for the last 20 or so minutes? We all good? Okay. First thing, or the 2 things that I need to accomplish are to complete your P4 sign-up option and to finish out the rubric for the presentation, as well as share the, share your SALP with you for your language portfolio. I'll update this in just a second. Thank you. I'll update this in just a second. It takes me a bit to set these up. Okay? Good luck. Start presenting tomorrow. It's pretty much the theme of our whole week, is making sure we got everything in the right box. You'll also notice if you click through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there are no enter or exit tasks. So, you're good? You're done?
Bro, I'm just like trying to set.
Unbelievable. Okay. I'm going to get to work. You should too. Use your time wisely, please.